Welcome to The Record Show, your virtual spin around the vinyl industry. Brought to you by Radio Wasteland Records. Yes, Midland has a record store. Here's your host, Jim Gleason.
Greetings from the Wasteland and welcome to another edition of The Record Show. And sadly, this is going to have to be an abbreviated episode, as this is shaping up to be one of those weeks here at the record store. I'll be covering the new releases for this week coming up in just a couple of moments by myself. Ken is finding himself preoccupied with the record store day list, which we're really expecting at any moment now, if not already by the time you're hearing this. When we do see that list, by the way, we'll give a comprehensive coverage of what our picks are for the upcoming Record Store Day 22 in April. And with regards to the other news that's keeping me occupied today, well, some folks on their days off like to sit around and relax, maybe catch up on some housework. Me, I had to go out looking for records. We picked up another big collection the other day here at the store of used vinyl, the third such in 3 years, and I think we're doing pretty good with it. If you watch our Saturday updates live, you'll hear some more about that then, or watch our Friday drop videos, you're going to start to see some of this come through here. I mentioned before, back in 2020, right at the beginning of everything going downhill pandemic-wise, we picked up a very large collection of classic rock that has kind of been carrying us for the past couple of years here as far as vintage vinyl goes. Then last year, some of you may have seen, or there's a couple of other big YouTubers out there that have referenced this punk collection that we came across and brought into the store as being kind of a once-in-a-lifetime thing. Well, the one we got this week is shaping up to be similar to those, but in really kind of a different vein. It's not quite classic rock, although there's a lot of great classic rock in there. It's not quite punk, but there's a little bit of punk in there. There's some jazz, there's some psych. It's really a well-rounded collection, and it looks like it's going to be a big one for us to go through. Several thousand records at the first guess as far as what I'm going through here. So that's what's keeping me a little bit occupied this week, is getting them into the store and getting them into our storage area so we can begin the process of sorting and getting them out to you folks. So again, please hit that subscribe button if you are not already. Make sure to watch our Saturday videos and make sure to watch our Friday drop videos, and you'll start seeing some of this stuff filtering in over the weeks to come. Okay, so let's take a look at the highlights of this week's new releases headed to an independent record store near you. Lots of stuff going on, lots of great reissues happening, and just a couple of other new releases as well, but mostly reissues. We're starting off with something brand new from the group Shovels and Rope, and this is called Manticore. Now, Shovels and Rope, I'm not very familiar with, but I guess they are kind of an indie folk group. Now, this 2022 pressing from the Charleston, South Carolina rock duo was originally planned to be a stripped-down acoustic leaning release, but much like the rest of the world when the pandemic hit, the two members of the band, Michael Trent and Carrie Ann Hurst, suddenly found themselves with a lot more time at their disposal. So they reimagined their original arrangements, resulting in 10 new songs that range in sound from heartbreaking, stark piano and rollicking hard rock to danceable guitar and drum numbers. That's according to our descriptions on this. So brand new stuff from Shovels and Rope. This is called Manticore. A couple of very, very cool psych rock. Hey, speaking of psych rock, reissues coming up here from the 13th Floor Elevators, Rocky Erickson's group, his original one. The first being the psychedelic sounds of the 13th Floor Elevators. And this is a colored vinyl. Let me see if I can look here. It is on red and green vinyl, and it is a double LP. Now, this is kind of an interesting reissue because they had reissued this album before as a double LP, one record rather, being the mono mix, the other being the stereo mix. So you're essentially getting two versions of the same album in the one release, and they're holding true to this on the reissues coming out this week. So the Psychedelic Sounds was originally released in 1966, and they have remastered the mono mixes and then included that stereo mix, as I mentioned, in the band's original intended running order for the album. So there are some differences between those two albums inside, those two records inside, rather. Now, the other reissue from the 13th Floor Elevators this week is Easter Everywhere. And like the previous one, this one is also a double LP on colored vinyl. This one looks to be red and yellow, and it is a limited edition as well. Easter Everywhere, originally released in 1967 according to our description, is essentially an extension of the sound from that groundbreaking debut album. Much like that first reissue, the double LP features the original mono album plus the original stereo version, which has also been remastered. Our description goes on to say that this is also different to the alternative stereo version, which was used in the Sign of the Three-Eyed Men box set, and disc 2 also features a bonus track as well. So they did some reworking on this to change it around just a little bit, but still a couple of great reissues from the 13th Floor Elevators. A much anticipated reissue as well this week from Marillion. This is their 1984 album Fugazi, and we're getting a 2021 stereo remix just being released now from Rhino Records. So this release is a single LP on black vinyl, and the 2021 remixed stereo version was done by Andy Bradfield and Avril McIntosh. Another reissue on the radar for this Friday is from Daft Punk. This is their Discovery album. It's the second studio album by the French electronic musical duo known as Daft Punk, originally released in 2001. This one looks like it's also going to be on black vinyl. Something for you metal fans out there, the group Doro is coming out with a couple of reissues. First up is Fear No Evil, and this is coming on blue and white marbled vinyl, and it is a double LP. Fear No Evil is the 11th studio album from the German female hard rock singer Doro. It was released worldwide in 2009. The other release from Doro is, and I'm going to work to pronounce this correctly, Für Immer, on black and white marbled vinyl. Our description says it's dreamy ballad, uber number mega hits, and forever associated with Doro Pesch, who gave this beautiful song to the musical world in 1987. This is Doro's first ever German song, and probably the first in history of hard rock to combine German and English lyrics. Für Immer celebrated its 30th anniversary 4 years ago, and now this is a limited edition vinyl reissue. We're going to have to fact check whether or not this is the first German/English hard rock one or not. We'll need a citation on that. And speaking of Doro, there are a couple of releases on the horizon to keep an eye out for. In March, we're going to get Magic Diamonds, The Best of Rock, and this looks like it's coming on clear vinyl that is March 4th release date. And then on March 18th, Magic Diamonds, The Best of Ballads. So again, for you Doro fans, a couple of things to look forward to coming up in March. And then there was one other release on the punk side, a reissue that we were looking forward to, but it doesn't look like it made it to our distributors in time. We're not going to have it here at our store, but hopefully in a week or so we will. Have to check with your local store to see if they end up with it. And that is the Circle Jerks, a 40th anniversary edition of Wild in the Streets. And again, we'll just keep an eye out and hopefully that will make it in. So that is a quick look at the highlights of this week's new releases headed to an independent record store near you. So as I mentioned, we're keeping things a little bit short today as we look forward to the official announcement of the Record Store Day 2022 list. Expected anytime, maybe by the time you're seeing this, but most definitely if you're watching this in the next day or two. We will have an extensive coverage of the list and some of our picks for the hot items this year coming up next week on the Record Show. Make sure you tune in for that. But in the meantime, just a very quick word on Record Store Day itself. Here in our store, we're getting a lot of people who are new to collecting vinyl. And the question does come across at least once a week, what is Record Store Day? So bear with me. For those of you who are familiar with the drill, we're going to cover this very quickly. And then next week, we'll get into the nuts and bolts of what this year's list has to offer. But Record Store Day is an annual celebration of independent record stores like Radio Wasteland and most definitely like an independent store near you. This will be the 15th year for celebrating Record Store Day in April, except for the 20 and 21, which were a little goofy because of the drops. But this is a day where there are literally hundreds of very unique releases put forth to indie record stores to get out to you, the record collectors. The limited numbers of these pressings range anywhere from 200 to 300 in the very low end to 30 to 40,000, depending upon the artist and depending upon the release. Now, per the rules of Record Store Day, stores like ours cannot pre-sell, we cannot reserve, we cannot hold these titles for anyone, and we're not allowed to sell them early, and more importantly, we're not allowed to price gouge on these because they do tend to greatly increase in value as that record store day goes on. You get a lot of people called flippers that show up and try to buy copies, as many copies as they can from some stores, and they turn around, they sell them on the likes of eBay or Discogs at greatly inflated prices. So try to get them from the stores that do them. We're going to hold our prices down just like everybody else and make sure that we can. But because of the limited number of so many of these releases, we have to limit them here at our store at least, and most stores do the same, to one release per person. You can buy as many releases as you'd like, but you can only buy one copy of each release. Typically speaking, especially in some of the bigger cities, you will find lines on the morning of record store. So pay attention to the opening times. Check with your local stores to see what they're offering, what they have. Many will put their lists out ahead of time. We here at our store do a live preview. We'll be doing that here on YouTube on the Friday night before record store day, so make sure you're subscribed so you can tune into that. But we try to be as transparent as possible, and I think a lot of other stores do the same thing because they want you to make an informed choice on where you're going to get your best shot at these very limited releases. So stay tuned. We're going to cover our thoughts on the list, get with your local record store, find out what they're offering, and above all, we're going to looking forward to a big record store day 2022. So until next week, you folks have a good one, and we'll talk to you next time from the Wasteland.
Here I come. You spin me right round, baby, right round, like a record, baby, round, 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 round. You spin me right round, baby, right round, like a record, baby, round, 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 round.
Thanks for watching The Record Show. If you haven't done so yet, please make sure to subscribe to the Radio Wasteland Records YouTube channel. And be sure to hit that notifications bell so you'll be alerted every time we upload new content.